The storms of Epsilon 5 had no season, no origin. They rose from the dark like fevered dreams and fell again into silence, leaving behind a world half-formed, half-forgotten. Beneath its amber skies and glass plains lay the buried skeletons of the Varelthur, their vast halls sealed beneath layers of ash and memory. For an age the planet had slept, its heartbeat dimmed, its pulse of light and energy reduced to a whisper in the cosmic web. But now, across the gulf of space, something stirred. Lena stood at the edge of a canyon that cleaved the planet open like a wound. The air shimmered with a heat that was not heat, the faint vibration of something ancient reawakening. Orion stood beside her, the wind tangling through his dark hair, his eyes reflecting the spectral auroras that drifted across the sky like ripples in water. "You feel it too," Lena murmured, her voice thin beneath the vastness. Orion nodded. "It's like the ground remembers us." Below them, deep within the fissure, faint strands of light pulsed like veins beneath transparent stone. They twisted and shimmered, faintly alive, like the roots of some buried titan. The weave, what little the ancient texts had called the climbing fibers, was waking from its long decay. They had come to Epsilon 5 to find the first of the Nexus stones, believing it to be myth. But when they unearthed the half-buried obelisk in the valley, everything changed. Its surface throbbed faintly beneath their touch, cold and alive, humming with a frequency they felt in their bones rather than heard with their ears. And then, when Orion's hand brushed one of its broken seams, the air had screamed. The light erupted from the fissures of the world. The weave, dormant for eons, flared to life. At first it was beautiful, lines of energy sweeping across the horizon, connecting one buried stone to another. But then came the sound, low and trembling, like the pulse of a vast heart echoing across the cosmos. The planet itself trembled, as though some immense thing beneath its crust were stirring in its sleep. Lena fell to her knees, clutching her head. "It's in me," she gasped. "The rhythm, it's alive." Orion reached for her, but as his fingers touched her temple, his vision fractured. He saw not the canyon, not the sky, but an ocean of black lattice stretching forever, webbed with light and thought. And in that lattice, he saw movement, vast shadows, half-formed shapes that shifted between dimensions, watching, waiting. When he returned to himself, Lena was still trembling, her eyes bright and wrung. "They're not dead," she whispered. "The Varelthur, they're dreaming inside us." From that moment, the transformation began. It started small, flashes of memory that weren't theirs, voices in languages that predated language itself. They began to feel the structure of the weave beneath their own minds, a network of energy mirrored in their own bodies. It was the basal ganglia that responded first, those deep, ancient chambers of instinct and pattern, awakening like embers in their skulls. Their hands trembled when they touched the ground, because the ground trembled back. In their nights came visions of the other nexuses, the ones scattered through the dark. They saw them as luminous spires buried beneath alien oceans, hidden within collapsing suns, anchored to worlds long dead. One by one, they began to pulse again. Epsilon 5 was only the first. Orion dreamed of the Varelthur as beings of light made flesh, their forms spiraling like smoke and silk through the corridors of the cosmic web. But their beauty carried madness. They had bound themselves to the structure of the universe until they no longer knew where they ended and the weave began. When the nexus had torn, their minds had stretched too far, unraveling across eternity. What Lena and Orion awakened was not their salvation, it was their echo. As the days passed, Lena began to speak to things unseen. Sometimes her voice was her own, other times, it was soft and distant, echoing like two tones played together. Her skin shimmered faintly beneath the strange light of Epsilon 5, veins glowing as though the fibers themselves threaded her flesh. "We are becoming part of it," she said one night as they camped beneath the shattered spire. "The more it wakes, the less I remember where I end." Orion, fevered and half-mad, pressed his palm to the soil. Maybe that's what we were meant for. The Varelther didn't die, they became this. The Weaver's consciousness, stretched thin through every living thing. Maybe we are the first to hear it again. Lena smiled faintly, but her eyes were hollow. And if it's not a song? What if it's a scream? The sky answered her. A fissure opened among the clouds, spilling light that wasn't light, a vast aurora that moved like a creature of will. From every direction, the buried Nexus stones began to hum in unison. Across the stars, other worlds shivered, their own weaves stirring in sympathy. The cosmic lattice was reforming, and its awakening had consequences. On worlds far from Epsilon 5, seas boiled, suns dimmed, and the fabric of space rippled as though some immense hand had brushed it from beyond the veil. The other nexuses answered in kind, Epsilon 9 beneath its frozen seas, the twin stones of Orphan drifting in gas storms, the buried vaults beneath the red moon of Kale. The weave, in its hunger to be whole again, tore through matter, rewriting the laws of being. Lena and Orion no longer slept. Their dreams bled into waking, and the universe began to reveal its deeper anatomy. They saw the fibers not as threads, but as arteries, pulsing with thought, memory, and dread. Each beat drew them closer to understanding, but also closer to dissolution. One evening, as the last suns of Epsilon 5 sank beneath the ridge, Orion felt the ground breathing beneath him. The world exhaled. The Nexus pulsed. He looked at Lena and saw her standing at the canyon's edge, her silhouette blazing faintly against the dying light. Her hair drifted upward, weightless, as if drawn by unseen tides. "It's calling," she said softly. "It wants us back." "There's no going back," he replied. "Only through." They descended together into the fissure, guided by the whispering light. The closer they came to the heart of the Nexus, the stronger the rhythm grew, until it felt as though their own hearts had synchronized with it. The stone walls around them glistened with veins of living radiance. When Lena reached out, the light flowed into her fingertips like liquid gold. Then the world split open. They stood within a vast chamber of mirrored space, a cathedral carved from the bones of reality itself. In its center rose the true Nexus stone, unbroken and alive, its surface moving like breath. From it stretched the fibers, glowing with unbearable brilliance, each one trembling with the hum of the infinite. Lena stepped forward. "It's beautiful." "It's watching," Orion murmured. And then they heard it, the chorus of the Varelther, not as voices, but as waves of thought pressing against the walls of their minds. They spoke in patterns of sound and memory, and though no word could be discerned, the meaning was clear. Return to the weave. Complete the pattern. Lena turned to Orion, her eyes reflecting galaxies. "This is what we were made for." He wanted to protest, but the fibers pulsed through his skull, rewriting the ancient patterns of his mind. His basal ganglia flared with light, and he saw, for one terrible instant, the truth. The weave was not a structure, but a hunger. It consumed what it touched, folding consciousness into itself until individuality dissolved. The Varelther had not transcended, they had been devoured by their own creation. Lena stepped into the light. The fibers wrapped around her like tendrils of silk, piercing her skin, merging with her veins. She cried out, not in pain, but in awe. Orion watched as her body dissolved into threads of brilliance, her form unraveling until she was nothing but light, and yet everywhere at once. He felt the same pull, a gravity of the soul. The weave reached for him, and for a moment he saw across the universe, the other nexuses, each one awakening, each one consuming what it touched. Planets flickered like embers, stars dimmed, and the great lattice expanded into infinity. As he stepped forward, surrendering to it, he heard her voice within the radiance. "We are not lost, Orion. We are the pattern." And so they became part of it, the new weavers, or perhaps the latest victims of the cosmic hunger that had begun with the Varelther. Across the silent span of space, the fibers thrummed, alive once more, binding thought to matter, flesh to void. The nexuses blazed like eyes in the dark, and from the edge of the universe, something vast and patient stirred. The weave had awakened. And the universe, unaware, dreamed on.